How do I become confident without sounding arrogant or up myself? I hear that question more than I ever expected. Pretty much most of the people I coach is because they want to develop more confidence, have personal power, achieve things, stop procrastinating, or being looked over. And they ask me, I listen to their words, and it's so much self-defacing, self-putting down language, or undervaluing what they're actually good at. And when I call them out about it, I say, you're good at it. Say you're good. When someone gives you a compliment, say thank you. Not, oh no, say thank you. When you've done a good job, admit to yourself and to others you've done a good job. You don't have to shine, you don't have to scream it off the top of a mountain, but don't hide it. It's your gift, it's your act of service, it's your loving you. So anyway, that's but let me just go on a little bit about that, because when I think of that question, I think what's behind it, and it must be a belief that that shining the light on you in some way is a bad thing. I don't know your spiritual beliefs, but I believe we are meant to shine. And that we are blessed more and more when we acknowledge our own worth and self-worth, and say, my name's Lisa. Lisa, I love you, to myself in the mirror. Now, I have people who cannot say that, and it breaks my heart. So in a moment, I'm going to share with you 3 tips for acquiring and developing confidence that's authentic and nothing to do with arrogance. So who here has watched The Secret? I know I watched it about 12 years ago, more or less, and that was my first ever knowing about the law of attraction. And I did absolutely everything. I was in dire financial situation. I was in dire problems with my relationships. I needed help all over the place. And I did everything I could to kind of train my vibration to attract what I wanted, which was a lovely relationship, a financial freedom, a decent security, a job, things for my kids, and I literally couldn't get anything. And I thought, but at that point, I didn't really know the big picture. At that point, I had very little knowledge. I was to learn it, and that was probably the seed in which set me on my journey to what I would call near enough enlightenment, because it's been not only a knowledge journey, it's been a spiritual journey and a great time. But I used to think that I just couldn't, because I couldn't visualize pictures in my head. I wasn't able to do what they said. I could feel things and I could hear things, but I couldn't see them. And I used to think, oh well, I just can't do it. Until sometime later, when I was going through an absolute disaster, I lost a child in a divorce, which actually set me back for years. When I was going through that, I remember my vivid thoughts, and actually all my worries and all my fears and all the things I said to myself and all my shame and all my guilt and all my everything went into my imagination and the worst happened. And it wasn't until years later that I began to acknowledge, actually, I manifested that. I did exactly what they were talking about in the law of attraction, but I did it to my detriment, not to my good. So I want you to remember that now as we go on to the next part, which I'm going to be asking you to think about your beliefs. So think about your beliefs in every area. Think about your beliefs around family, yours or your family, your friends. Think about your friendships. Are they difficult? Are they hard to maintain? Do they come easy? Are they superficial? Are they, think about all of these things. Your relationship. Do you have problems in your relationship, or do you not keep relationships going, or maybe you're brilliant at relationships? I don't know. Your financial situation. What do you think about money? Is it easy to come by? Is there always more money than there is money? Think about your dreams. Do you actually visualize your dreams? Do you actually think about what you want to achieve and want to happen in your life? Do you have a vision board, or do you not do it at all? Because you live in reality or something, and you can't be a dreamer like that. So, I'd like you to really consider these. Your purpose in life. Do you even know what it is? Have you experienced life enough and found some of your gifts, your spiritual gifts? You've got plenty, but or do you believe you just don't have any, or very limited? So, how much fun do you have? How creative are you? What's your beliefs around your creativity and your abilities? Is your childhood still predominantly in your head most days? Do you still get affected by whatever's life situation you had when you were young? Your future, do you think about it or not? Do you visualize it or fear it? Do you is it something to what are your feelings about it? And your body, what about your feelings about your body? Your diet, things like that. And do you practice self-love? And if you don't even know what I mean by practicing self-love, then it's probably you don't, but I could be wrong. So just for a moment before we go on, I'd love you to stop this here and jot down your feelings, just the kind of initial thoughts that come to mind, and give you, create the thoughts and be aware of them. They're really important for the next part. Milton Erickson, who's affectionately known as the grandfather of hypnotherapy, I know him through both studying NLP and studying hypnotherapy. But he used to say that a number of things. Firstly, everybody is in trance. Everybody is hypnotizing themselves with the words they say and the thoughts they think. And he also said people come to him when they're out of rapport with themselves, when one part of them is no longer satisfied, when they know there's something wrong. So if you've been watching any of the neuroscience technology and research, you'll know that this is backed up by neuroscience, that words and thoughts affect behavior. And even if you go into the physical body, we're told that our cells, every cell in our body is listening to us, either feeling us, listening to us, hearing what we say, think, feel about ourselves, and acts accordingly. So even our thoughts can create our illnesses, not just problems with confidence, but much more. Okay, so I'm going to go into these top tips now in a moment and see you there. So before I give you top tip number 1, I would like to just tell you a little bit about beliefs. Now, I am a fan of the law of attraction. One of my favourite things over the years to follow has been Esther Hicks, or Abraham. And she has a lovely saying, and it's beliefs are just thoughts you keep thinking. So beliefs are just thoughts you keep thinking. And if that's true, we can change our beliefs. It's amazing. So you know yourself that your thoughts change from moment to moment. You know, with your mood, the day of the week, the weather, who you're with, anything, your thoughts change. But beliefs are just thoughts you keep thinking. So if some of your beliefs are not serving you, and I hope you wrote a note about those, if some of those beliefs are not serving you, can you make sure now to take responsibility for those thoughts and do something about it? So top tip number 1, believe you create your own reality and take full responsibility for it. So you take full responsibility for creating your own reality. So it's not just that you're to take responsibility, but take conscious responsibility. This is top tip number 2. Take conscious responsibility for your thoughts, which have become beliefs. Okay, if they're not serving you, that means if they're not kind, if they're not loving, if they're not encouraging, those are not serving you. If you're not having kind, loving, compassionate thoughts about yourself, those thoughts need to change. So take conscious action, to be responsible for those thoughts and be prepared to do something about them. So, guess what? Top tip number 3. Change your repetitive thoughts. Just replace them with things that are loving and nourishing to your spirit. I know Marissa Peer often talks about this, that criticism withers you. Okay, so if your thoughts and your beliefs about you are critical or not helping you in any way, change them. Think about something different. Replace them with thoughts that are maybe feel inauthentic to start off with. But another thing that Marissa Peer taught me in the past was that basically your beliefs become you. Your beliefs become you. So if you can actually step out of those old beliefs, taking on newer and better and more useful beliefs for yourself. Keep repeating those beliefs. Remember, it's thoughts. Keep repeating those thoughts because it's repetition of thoughts that form beliefs. So keep repeating those thoughts until they become beliefs, and allow the beliefs become you. So thank you. That's top tip.
Hi. So here we are. The 3 tips, you've got them. The first one, believe you create your own reality with your thoughts. Top tip number 2, be prepared to acknowledge and change disempowering thoughts. Top tip number 3, change your repetitive thoughts to things that empower you, positive, nourishing statements. So those were my 3 top tips, and I'm so glad you're here, by the way, and I'd love to teach you more. If you're in one of my groups, if you're in, I know I'm putting this in Growing Your Goddess. If you're in that, well, you'll see more of me, and there'll be plenty more like that. If you're in one, if you've just downloaded this and you would like to know more about it, Growing Your Goddess, Exploring the Goddess, just put there'll be a link somewhere here that you can learn to either one of my groups or one of my programs. So thank you for that, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.